This episode of The Unstarving Musician is powered by Bandzoogle, helping musicians around the world create professional artist websites. I somewhat recently moved my own artist website over to Bandzoogle. You can see it at rabonzo.com. I'm a longtime WordPress user and website designer, so trying a system like Bandzoogle was kind of a big deal to me, but I know that WordPress ain't that easy to learn, and lots of musicians have no interest in learning how to use WordPress, but will try something purported to be easy to use. Well, it doesn't get much easier than Bandzoogle. I've talked about the numerous features they have at the front end of other episodes, but after talking to Dave Kuhl, VP of Business Development with Bandzoogle, on this podcast in the previous episode, you should check it out, I learned about several other features that are especially interesting right now, such as crowdfunding, subscriptions, donations, and all of that without fees added. They also have tools to help you sell merch, tickets to your shows, build your email list, and more. They have support 7 days a week. So look, go to bandzoogle.com to start a 30-day free trial. You can use the promo code RABONZO to get 15% off your first year. That's bandzoogle.com, promo code RABONZO, ROBONZO. Let's do the show. This is the Unstarving Musicians Podcast. I'm your host, Rabonzo. This podcast features conversations with me and indie music artists. Conversations intended to help other indie musicians be better at marketing, business, the creative process, and all the other things that empower us to do more of what we love. Make music. Welcome back, or for the very first time. Hey, do you want to help others find this podcast? You can do so by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. It really does help. The Unstarving Musician Podcast is made possible through the generosity of listeners like you. One of the easiest ways to offer support is to join the Unstarving Musician community, and you can do so by going to unstarvingmusician.com and join right there on the homepage. As a member, you'll receive from me tips and lessons you can use in your music journey. And this is not just stuff coming from me and my years of experience as a gigging musician, but also from the hundreds of other musicians I've talked to as part of this project and podcast. You'll also get a free copy of the Unstarving Musician's Guide to Getting Paid Gigs ebook, and that is all free just for being part of the community. To learn more about the other ways of offering your support, please visit our sponsor page at unstarvingmusician.com/crowdsponsor. My guest for this episode is Alonzo. He and I recorded this episode back on January 17th, 2020. Today is March 25th, 2020, and his birthday was on March 3rd, so happy belated birthday, my friend. Sorry I missed it. So much has changed, though, since January 17th and March 3rd. I hope to all of you that you and yours are well and healthy. So who is Alonzo? He's a singer, dancer, choreographer, and more. We talk about his business management team, a good story, and work with celebrity that he's done, such as the Prince Estate, Christina Aguilera, Salt and Pepper, and more. His 4 tours in China, one of which went completely sideways on him, which is quite the story. How experience in dance and choreography has helped him. His Free of Fear mission and backstory, which is rather timely right now. And he answers 2 very important questions related to being a vocalist. He's an amazing talent. He seems like a sweet guy, too, like someone who would go out of his way for those he loves and trusts. Probably for those he doesn't know all that well, too, but loves anyway. Seems centered. All right, here's me and Alonzo. Tell me about your relationship with Birdie at Bsquared Management, or your relationship with Bsquared Management and Birdie.
So Bsquared is my business management. I ran into a representative of Bsquared at one of my shows at the Sayers Club in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. It's like right in Hollywood, off of Hollywood and Wilcox. And I was singing there one night, and one of their people were there, and she came up to me after the show. Not Birdie, it was another girl. And she was just like, wow, I really think that my boss would love you, and something else. And I'd say it wasn't even within 48 hours that I was on the phone with Birdie, and she became my business mommy ever since.
That's nice. Had you worked with anyone like them before?
Well, I've always had personal management, which is why I call them my business management team, because my personal manager's name is Joseph Pearson, and he's managed me for the last 10 years. But I've never had, a separate team working around the clock to make some things happen for me. That's new. It's usually just been, my personal manager and I grinding independently. And even though we've been able to accomplish a lot on our own, having Birdie and the team join us this recent year was just, it was exactly what I needed.
That's cool. And I love hearing that it feels like they're working around the clock. That's that's nice. That's nice.
Oh, I'm serious. I get emails at like 4 or 5 in the morning saying these festivals have been contacted for you. These radio stations have been reached. They don't play at all.
That's cool.
And I don't know how they have the time to do it for so many artists and still make me feel so special. So I really appreciate Bsquared for sure.
That's cool. And so it's only been in the last year or less that you've been with them, huh?
Yeah, I think we just made our year anniversary. I want to say maybe a little over a year now, because I might have met them last November, I want to say.
Wow.
But yeah.
That's a good testimonial then in a short time. Total shift of gears, but I read that in 2019 you did something called the For You Prince Tour, and you also, 2019, just last year, and you also sang for Christina Aguilera, and I just wanted to ask you what all that was like.
OMG, so the Prince Tour that I did was actually a tour with an orchestra.
Nice.
And they did some dates over in Europe for a little bit, but the Prince estate never allowed a lead singer to sing in front of the orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
Because they just, they really want to protect the Prince brand, and they don't want people. Prince never really liked Prince impersonators or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, long story short, I was singing at Whiskey A Go-Go in West Hollywood, and the president of TCG Entertainment, which had partnered with the Prince estate to pull this tour off, was in the audience that night, and he pulled me to the side. I'm always getting pulled to the side when I get off stage.
That's nice.
And it is, because you hear those kinds of stories, and I gotta say, it's definitely happened to me a few times. But yeah, he pulls me to the side and he says, we're working on something, this Prince tour, and I think that you would be perfect for it. We just got to convince the Prince estate that you're the guy. And fast forward to, that was about in November as well of 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward to May of 2019, he was reaching back out saying they are down, and everything is history from there. I was the first singer ever approved by the Prince estate to headline that tour as the lead singer.
What an honor. May I ask how old you are?
Huge honor. I'm 28.
Okay.
I'll be 29 on March 3rd.
Wow. You seem young, and you are. So, and then how about that all sounds really cool. How about the stuff you did for Christina Aguilera? How was that?
So Christina, well, the funny thing is, first of all, it was this special that we did on the Freeform Network. It was a Halloween special called 31 Nights of Halloween. And Christina recently, I want to say she had a couple of songs, but this particular song was on the most recent the Addams Family movie that just came out.
Uh-huh.
And so she was doing some promoting for that, and since it was a Halloween special, it was very appropriate for her to perform there. And we were the background vocalists for the entire house band, so I back up sang for like 7 other people that night, like Salt and Pepper, and I want to say, is it the short lady in Broadway, Christian Chatterwick or something? Or
I wish I could tell you.
Name?
I wish I could tell you.
Yeah, I can't remember her name, but anyway, I backup sang for so many other people, but I was just so excited to backup sing for Christina Aguilera. That seemed like the only person that I sang for that night, but there were like several others. But yeah, it was
Wow.
kind of like a package thing, and she came up to us and told us that we sounded amazing, and it was just really cool because she's always been, I've definitely followed her career, and she's a huge inspiration. And so just to stand on the same stage as her, and then for her to come over and tell us that we sounded great, it was pretty awesome.
That is so nice. I have a friend who has attended several, I don't know if he's still doing it, I haven't talked to him lately, but has attended several Grammy, whatever the thing is, where you go to the show, and we were talking about various singers and professionals, and he mentioned how much of a difference there was having seen Christina Aguilera come out and sing for that audience, and he was just talking how kind of elevated her level of talent was compared to so many others that he'd had an opportunity to see there then, and probably some before too. So she's pretty amazing. I can see why you were so excited.
Yeah, really, man, I was freaking out when she first walked on stage. I was like, okay, I can't contain myself right now. And I don't get starstruck. There's like a few people, like if Beyonce walks in a room, I'm definitely going to like fall to the floor. But I mean, I try to keep it together. But when I seen her, I was like, wow, this is really Christina Aguilera.
Wow, and you had to work too. You had to deliver for her, so that had to have been extra hard, because I can imagine, like, I say I don't get starstruck, but what I get in this weird thing, if I see anyone who's remotely famous, I don't want to bother them, but I've had...
Right.
Yeah, and I had one, though, where Dustin Hoffman, the actor Dustin Hoffman, walked into this little cafe in England that my wife were at in London, and I didn't say anything to him, but I was just like, my wife said my face went kind of blank, and and I was like, oh my God, look who's here. But I could hardly speak. It was just the two of us, but so I guess, there's those people that if they're famous enough, you're like, oh my God, kind of beside yourself.
Wow.
I can imagine how you feel, though. I would probably feel the same way you did around her. So,
I'm reliving it just thinking about it.
That's nice. So, switching gears again, I understand that you got a mission that has to do with, well, it was presented to me in a hashtag, so it's hashtag freeoffear.
Oh my gosh. Do you hear that?
A little bit. What is it?
It's like my buildings.
Oh.
I think they're doing a test.
It's okay. It's not that.
This might be a test, whatever.
It's
but
not
if
that
you
loud.
can hear me, it's fine.
Yeah, as long as it's not too distracting for you. But yeah, what does the Free of Fear hashtag mean to you? What inspired you? And just tell me about it.
Oh my gosh. I'll try to make the story short because I can talk. But I've always had this journey of having to overcome different things. And, for the first, I'd say half of my career, I was a dancer. I was a dancer, choreographer. That's where all the America's Got Talent and all of those different things took place. I was dancing and choreographing, and it was just, to a lot of people from the outside looking in, the thing that was making me successful. And the entire time, I wanted to be a singer. I had loved singing my entire life secretly. And I would, do music. My grandfather was a musician, so I'd be in his recording studio watching him when I was younger. And I just remember wanting to sing. And I remember this moment on America's Got.
Uh-oh, I lost you there.
And so it wasn't until like a year after America's Got Talent that I decided to pursue music full time. And even in pursuing music, that's when I went on to do those 4 tours in Asia. And I disappeared because, Sometimes when you're trying to pursue something new, you have to go around, you have to go somewhere where no one knows who you are, because people will try to keep you as who they know you to be. And so I went to a whole nother country to pursue my singing dream, or at least to gain enough confidence to come back here and pursue it unapologetically. And so fast forward to, many things after that. We were just having a conversation last year, and, Gaga had the Born This Way whole movement. There's the It Gets Better movement out there. And so we were just trying to think, what is that theme of me? And that theme of me is just not being afraid to jump. I went to a whole nother country for 4 years and sang all over and did all of these things. And I wasn't afraid, and so last year or last October, we're saying last year, but it still feels weird because it's January.
Right. I know how you feel, yeah.
But yeah, it was just this last October, we went on a school tour called the Freeoffear School Tour. And I spoke to a lot of students and students that aspire to be in the arts and have careers in entertainment. And that was my main message, that you cannot be afraid. And even when you are afraid, still do it. I was about to cuss because that's how passionate I am.
It's okay.
Ooh, I almost cussed. But still do it, because it's really when you do things afraid that they really count. If you're just doing it uncomfortable all the time, you're not even growing at that point. And so it just took me so long to realize those things. And, I still have fears of my own, and I just literally posted last week, even though I am the head of the freeoffear movement, I still fear giving my heart to someone. So, it's just, we all have fears. And my biggest passion is just inspiring others through my story. And I let fear control my life for too long, seriously. And it's time, to get past this and use my gifts the way that I know they were intended to be used, and inspire everyone while doing it.
I was hoping we could talk.
And Miss America goes too. No, I'm just kidding.
I was hoping we could talk a little bit about the turning point or the pivotal event or something that was going on before you decided, okay, I can't be this way anymore. I need to free myself of my own fears or be a little more fearless or whatever. What was the turning point, if there was one in your life, or anything that comes to memory?
As we grow, our fears change. When I was younger, it had a lot to do with, well, actually, now that I think about it, first of all, that's an amazing question. It's always been fear of being judged. But when I was younger, I used to have, all right, so we're going a little far back, but I used to have really, really bad anger when I was young. And it wasn't until I used to just go through this whole little moment of just not feeling like anyone cared about me, not being seen, dealing with things that, kids deal with that they don't tell their parents. And that's another thing that I'm really passionate about as well, but we can talk about that another time. But long story short, I was so angry, and I remember winning my first talent show in 7th grade. I did a Michael Jackson impersonation, just dancing. And I won that talent show, and I remember it was just the first time in my life where I really felt like I got a standing ovation, and everyone was going crazy, and I won. And it was like that moment that I knew, one, I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life, and two, wow, I actually, people can see me and appreciate me right now. And as I went on, I think I started to develop this this reputation as a dancer. So my fear turned into, if I'm to be a singer, how are people going to judge me? Because they always compare the two. And literally, I would sing for people, and they would be like, "Oh no, you just need to keep on dancing."
Man, that's hard,
but
right?
what it really was that, you know, I would sound like crap because I'd be nervous. They'd be like, "Oh, you want to be a singer? Just sing something." And I would sound like crap because, you know, when you're nervous, you can't breathe. You need breath to sing. So I would sound like crap, and they'd be like, "Okay, you just need to keep dancing. You're doing so much better at that." So it was just this big fear of being judged and not being as good a dancer or as good a singer as a dancer, because everybody loved to see me dance. And to this day, that's the case. But I feel like I've been able to finally prove myself as a vocalist and be respected equally for each gift.
Well,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I recognize. I hope you like hearing this, but I recognize you more as a singer. A singer first. And
I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I've seen I've noticed or observed just a snippet of your dancing, but I'm thinking to myself, you know, what a great dancer you must be too, for people to have such strong appreciation about that facet of your talent. But far and away, you know, I see you as a singer first. So, congratulations, good job.
Thank you.
Yeah. So on the whole dance thing, it's a world I love. I have a great appreciation for dancing. I don't spend a ton of time. So I say that, but I don't spend a ton of time going out of my way to watch it. My wife and I very recently saw an amazing ballet from an amazing ballet company we didn't even realize existed pretty close to where we are until recently, and that was great. But I think the form of dancing that you have grown up doing and really honed your skill sets on is is an area I've spent not enough time looking at, but when I do get to see it, I really appreciate it. And I was intrigued that you founded the dance crew Fatally Unique. It sounds like it's still going. Is that right?
No, Fatally Unique is not going because it can't go without me.
Okay.
But I do plan on, it's been in my plans forever. It's literally on my vision board right now. I'm staring at it. There's a building in my hometown that I'm going to buy soon, and it will be my dance school there.
Nice.
And once I get this, once we finish getting the dance school on its feet, I'm pretty sure we will start Fatally Unique again as like a company at the school. And I'm going to put it in a position for it to be able to run without me there. But right now, it can't because I did everything for the team. So there's just no way that it could exist without me.
Well, that's pretty exciting, though. Yeah, thanks for sharing the stage of the vision that you're at with it. It sounds super exciting. And I suppose, brought it up because I was intrigued about your inspiration, maybe a little bit of the history of how long it went on, referring to Fatally Unique. And so now you talked about its potential future. I guess on top of that, how do you see its future in your world as a singer?
I've always had this vision of, because first of all, Fatally Unique is like the most famous dance crew in my hometown because of America's Got Talent and everything that we accomplished. And it's the thing that made everyone there know me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when small towns do things like go on TV, it's a big deal. So like we had to have a cop car outside of my mom's house. I couldn't even like go in Walmart without being stopped to take pictures. Like it was literally like a little hometown celebrity type thing, even though I'm no one in LA. So in my hometown, Fatally Unique is the people that, or the crew, the dance team that everyone wants to see. There's other dance crews there, but whenever Fatally Unique's name is placed somewhere, it's going to be sold out. Everyone's going to be excited to see, and it's because of the brand that we created around it. So I have this vision that, you know, when I do go back home to headline a concert of my own, it'll be only right that Fatally Unique opens that show as the opener of the concert. And I think that it'll be the hugest surprise for them to think that they're just there to see me perform that night and the dancers come up out of the ground or something. It'll be pretty awesome.
Yeah, that'll be great. That'll be great.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear you learning that it's not something that's functioning right now as a company, a dance company or dance crew. I'm excited for you to hear that it's still it's in your heart and it's coming back. So that's very cool.
Heck yeah.
So getting back to, I guess, a little bit to the Free of Fear thing. So and something you said earlier about kind of taking yourself to a new place to legitimize yourself, for yourself, your ability to sing, so you could come back to wherever and feel that people would judge you as a singer. But I thought it was perhaps accidental, and maybe it was not, but maybe there was an accidental facet to this. But so I read that in 2013 you responded to a Craigslist ad for singers needed for this tour. And it did say international tour. So did you know right then that if that turned out to be a legitimate offer, that okay, wow, this is what I need to do something outside the country?
No. So I knew that I was about to pursue music, and so that's why I was looking for things. But I didn't know how. And that's, actually, not to sidetrack, but that's where being free of fear comes in as well, because we can't be afraid to, like, take the first step toward wherever it is we're trying to go. And it goes across the board. Like I've been discussing finances recently. Like a friend of mine basically has higher rent. And so she's like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do this. And one of the biggest things that I learned last year is that, the reason why there's not more money in the budget is because you don't need more money in the budget. It is not until you need to find money for something else that it shows up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever there's, a moment where you want to pursue something and you have no idea how you're going to do it, it's really not until you decide to do it that you figure out how the heck you're going to do it.
Yes.
And so I started looking around, and I was emailing agencies and all types of stuff. But yeah, I was on Craigslist, and that ad said international tour, and I was like, what the heck is this? And it was like weeks later that we were already preparing and gone. And so that first tour, the first tour was their introduction to me, China in particular. Mm-hmm. They didn't even know me yet. But it literally, by the end of the first tour, I had several companies trying to outbid each other for my show for them to produce my show for the second tour. And then fast forward 4 tours later, that the rest of that was history. But it was just that very first tour, like, I had no idea what the heck was in China of all places. And don't get me wrong, it was the biggest culture shock ever, especially coming to LA from a small town was a culture shock. So coming from a small town to another country was some whole other kind of stuff.
And where was the small town from which you came?
So, oh my God, I didn't say that.
I should have asked earlier.
It's very close. It's very close to Chicago, so everyone knows Chicago. Mm-hmm. Called Rockford, Illinois.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of it.
Rockford, Illinois is about an hour and a half from Chicago. It's actually, I believe, the second largest city in Illinois, but it's still small or considered small. I think it's just the second largest because of the population, but the overall size of the city is pretty small.
So Asia turns out to be a complete shocker. And that was from Chicago that you did that?
Yeah, so I applied to the ad. The agent reached out like a week later. I went to Chicago, hired some dancers, and I want to say like a month and a half later, we were already headed to China.
So you hired the dancers for the tour?
Yes. And see, that's the thing. Like, I was already prepared. Isn't it funny how our lives can already be preparing us for stuff? Because if nothing else, because of having those 6 years, let me think. I went to China for the first time in 2013. Fatal Unique was founded in 2006. All right, 7 years. Having us 7 years with Fatal Unique, as soon as it became time for me to put a tour together and hire dancers and choreograph dancers and put my own show together, not many singers can do that anyway. They have to hire a choreographer. Mm-hmm. But since I already had that experience under my belt, if nothing else, I can put a show together because I had already been doing it.
That's an amazing skill.
Yes, and it saves money.
Well, and so it sounds like you've been back to China or other parts of Asia since. You were about to talk about the culture shock, I think. But yeah, tell me more about what that was like the first time.
The first time, I went through phases. The first time, it was just too much for me to handle. I was like so frustrated. And then the second and third time, which were the primes of my show in China, I was on top of the world, They took really good care of us. And by then I had learned some Chinese and really just, got in the flow of there. I knew how to go to the bank and handle my money and order my own food and talk to people and eat and hang out. And I had friends in different cities by then. And so it just became an all around great experience. And then my fourth tour there, which was actually my last tour in 2015 or 16, same year I moved to LA. That tour just went terribly. And that's why I haven't been back since.
So on the first one, going back to the first one, you said you were all kinds of frustrated. What kind of things frustrated you? How'd you deal?
The first thing is, I don't want to be too controversial.
It's okay.
But, Chinese people, they're not too familiar with Black folks. As it pertains to some of the older Chinese people, the younger Chinese kids that have been brought up and coming up, and we got to keep in mind that, the internet is still really new. And they still have to purchase access to internet outside of their country because it's still a communist place. So you got to have a VPN to Google anything in China, or to get on YouTube, or to get on a Facebook or Instagram. you have to like buy a virtual private network just to surf the internet outside of their government's perimeters. And so, long story short, these children that are coming up and these teenagers, they get to see a little more, but the adults, my mom's age and older, for many of the time, were, especially in 2013, were often just seeing a black person face to face for the first time in their life. So you can just imagine, like, walking into a McDonald's and every person in the store turning around to look at you as if you were standing there naked.
Yeah.
And not that they were just rude or racist or anything. It was just like, what the heck is this? Like, where did you come from? And so then it becomes, you know, ignorant curiosity, wanting to touch my hair and touch my skin and see all things and blah, blah, blah. You know, they're just so curious. And
Sure.
so that kind of stuff was really annoying to me.
I can appreciate that.
I was just like, what is going on up in here? Y'all need to get up off of me. But, you know, as time went on, I got to understand the culture, and I understood that, you know, it was pretty innocent. It was pretty innocent on their part, and they only knew what they knew.
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
And then you said that the last tour wasn't so great. What happened that was frustrating about that, or made it not so great for you?
Well, I've definitely come a long way, because I want to say this is probably the first time ever that I'm speaking about this publicly. I have like documentary videos that have been unreleased that one day I'll talk about or have out, but this is definitely the first time I'm speaking about this publicly. On my fourth tour there, I had a contract to do a 1-month residency and a 2-month tour,
Mm-hmm.
which I had never really done a residency. And so we did the 1-month residency. The residency was amazing.
May I ask a question, just to, maybe there are some people that will listen to this that will be curious, and I think I know what we're talking about. So residency was kind of like if I could compare it to like a house gig, you're the guy that's doing there, you're there every night, weekly or something like that, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a Vegas show.
Sure. Okay, cool.
Yep. And so I was the resident singer at this huge new club in Hangzhou, about an hour away from Shanghai.
Mm-hmm.
And the residency was amazing. I mean, there's footage out there somewhere of, it was amazing. The club was huge. There was these big screens behind me with my name on it, and it was just like an arena almost. So it was really cool. At the end of the residency, we were supposed to start a tour. And the agent did not... now, this was me trying out a new agent. This was not the same people that I was with for the last couple of years. But this particular agent had made a bigger offer. And so at the time, I'm feeling like, wow, I've already done 3 tours. I'm hot stuff, blah, blah, blah. He's offering almost triple the amount that I would have made. So I'm going to try this new agent out. This new agent that I'd never worked with before did not prepare the tour and ran away with almost $20,000.
Ugh.
And so from there, my dancers and I literally, for like a nice 2 weeks, were literally stuck in a hotel in China. No shows booked, nowhere to go. I'm not going to use the word homeless, because at least we were in a hotel, but you know, I mean, we're in another country, and there was just there was nothing that we could do. And so I I paid for our hotels. I had some nice money in savings, so I was able to keep our hotels for the 2 weeks and still, make sure the dancers were eating and taken care of. But through that time, I was just like, what the heck am I going to do? Because there's no way that that we can just fly back home right now, or I'm going to be in debt. And so, long story short, I became my own agent and booked the rest of my own tour there. And literally, we stayed there for 4 more months instead of 2 more months. And I literally became my own agent and tour manager in China just to finish that particular job. But yeah, it really went bad at first because, this man had ran with all of my money and there was no way to defend myself. There's no small claims court in China. They don't got a Judge Judy.
Well, no.
So, the only cases that can really make it would be like a Apple suing Microsoft type of case. You know what I mean? But a little bitty black guy trying to sue his agent for some money that they had, like, they can totally breach contracts and get away with it, and there's just nothing that I can do. And even if I do try to do something, they're going to side with their people for sure. So it was pretty bad. And luckily I had this was my 4th tour, so I had a network of friends and people that I had been able to nurture over the years that came to my rescue, and I was able to book everything on my own. But it was not easy. So I never went back to China after that.
So it sounds like you kind of had to work your way home with the kids or the company, the dancers that you had with you, right? You went out and toured for a few months, I believe you said, and that was in part not only to do what you went there to do, but also to pay your way home?
Yeah.
That's tough,
and
man.
Yeah, it was. It was probably one of the most hardest experiences I've ever had to go through. And I really feel like it happened for a reason, too, because it really allowed me to come here and really focus on making a name for myself here. And so here we are.
And it's an amazing part of your story, and will be a more amazing part of your story as you're able to talk about it more publicly.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that happened.
Well, that's
at all.
Else. Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but I'm in a foreign country. I live in Panama.
Okay.
I'm a legal resident here. My wife and I for 3.5 years, but having encountered some legal issues, one very small thing, helping a friend out, and then another one that's considerably bigger, you realize, and you kind of know going in that when these things happen, you're at a disadvantage, that the system's different, you're a foreign national, and here you are, a visitor on a tourist visa of some sort, so I can only imagine, but I can, I was feeling the fear when you're telling the story, so.
OMG, dude, then you know. And the thing is you're not across the street.
That's right.
You're on another part of the world, and
that must have been crazy.
It was crazy.
I can imagine. Well, I know it has made you a stronger person. There's no way it couldn't have. And like that experience that you had before you embarked on the first one, where you were able to hire dancers and you have this preparedness that you didn't know you were going to use in the particular way that you did, you probably, surely you gained something that's going to come in extremely handy in your future for unforeseen reasons and hopefully for much bigger and better things. I have two kind of closing questions. These are going to be interesting for me. So I got an invitation to guest on a podcast that's centered on all things vocals. In fact, that's what it's called, All Things Vocal. And so I'm working with my friend Judy Rodman on that. And she's not having me on because I'm such an authority on singing. I'm a singer, but I'm just at a stage where I'm taking my singing more seriously. So I'm at the beginning of you could consider me at the beginning of my singing journey. But so one of the things that I did was I reached out to my community to ask a couple of questions about vocals or about singing. And I wanted to ask you these same two questions, and maybe they will very likely be helpful in the episode that I'll get to sit in on that other podcast. So you ready?
Awesome. Yep.
These will be easy for you, I bet. Okay, so mine was, and Judy contributed the other, and hers is great, but mine was, what's the single most important thing that has helped you to be a better vocalist?
Confidence.
I love that answer.
Because the thing with confidence is, and you see how fast I could say that answer, singing is like 80% confidence, because you have to convince yourself and the people that what you're doing means something. And when I used to sing so nervous, it affected my voice, and that's why I was saying, when you sing, you need breath to sing. But if you're just a nervous wreck, you can't breathe. Your heart is pounding. Your stomach is blah, blah, blah. Your throat is dry. It takes all of that to sound good as a singer.
Yeah.
So it's just like the only way to sound good as a singer is to be more confident in yourself. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people just can't sing, and I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. But for those that have it in there and literally just had a dry throat, or, allowed their nerves to take over their body and didn't allow their gift to come through, those are the people that you got to be more confident in yourself. And I call it faking it to make it. Mm-hmm. There were moments in China where I had no idea what the heck was going on, but you couldn't tell me nothing, because I'm going out there. I would greet the audience in Chinese, literally to say, like, Shanghai, how are you guys doing out there tonight? I would literally walk out there, Shanghai, Napoleon Niman, how? Like screaming, just so happy. And it was like I had convinced myself that I was this Chinese superstar. And when you have this unwavering belief in yourself, people kind of just start to be like, oh, I think this is cool. I think they have something here. So definitely confidence for that answer, because you can't be walking around doubting yourself, because people just going to doubt you right along with you.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I love that. It really, probably of all the answers I've received, it really takes a step way back in front of a lot of other things people have said, and most of which you mentioned after kind of follow confidence. I really, I think all singers will appreciate that. The other one is, this one's from Judy. It's a great question, and she is her breadth of experiences, it borders on unparalleled. All the things she's done in her life as a singer, and she's a vocal coach, has been for a long time. But anyway, her question is, what one thing would you like to do better, easier, or healthier with your voice?
Oh my gosh, that's like a really complex question. Okay, the one thing that I like to do, I'm going to break it down. One thing that I like to do better is be more on top of my warm-ups, like my daily warm-ups, because it's kind of like working out. And if you know anything about like fitness and health, it's really about the consistency that gets the results. And so I'm a person that now that I have the confidence, I can just sing my ass off, because now I have the confidence. So, I'm always ready to sing. But even though I feel like, I can sing, I know that there's room to get better. And that's where I have these these vocal lessons in my phone that I should be doing like daily warm-ups every day, which is taking my voice to the gym even when I don't have shows.
Mm-hmm.
And I just know that I'd be so much better if I consistently did that. But somehow, the procrastination comes in, and it's like, I got this to do and that to do, and the day has gone by. And so, yeah, I should make that a priority because that would make me better. What was the second part of that question?
Well, I think, that one can cover all three, but maybe you were thinking of multiple things. So if there's more, tell me. But it was, what would you like to be able to do better, easier, or healthier with your voice? But it does kind of cover, can kind of hit all those. But if there's more.
Yeah, please. It does hit all three.
This has been a struggle for me to stay on top. And one of the other respondents to this, this little 2-question survey said the same thing, that they wanted to get on top of their warm up, routine. So yeah, you're in good company, at least from the other singer. I don't know about me, but hey, man, Alonzo, Alonzo, thank you so much for spending time with me today. Let me look at something here. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the place that people need to go to start learning everything about you, and it is a website with the URL iamalonzo.com, and that's ALONZO.com, and you have a lot of wonderful links to all the places they can find your music and on socials and see some awesome videos. The presentation on the website is amazing. Kudos to you and your team for that. And yeah, man, thanks for your time. I'll be talking to you soon for sure.
Yay, thank you, man. This was awesome.
Of course.
Really chill. And I'm so thankful. I really did not get opportunities to, talk about my career before. And so I'm just really, really thankful and full of gratitude for finally being given the chance to share my story.
Well, I imagine as people hear this, you'll have plenty more opportunities to do it again and again.
Yeah, I hope so too.
All right, man. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Alrighty, thank you, man.
Hey, thanks again for listening. If you are loving the podcast, please visit unstarvingmusician.com/crowd sponsor to learn about the various ways that you can offer your support. And again, if you're a listener, I consider you a supporter, especially if you shared it with a friend. Thank you. Look for show notes and links to most everything mentioned in this episode at unstarvingmusician.com/podcast. Thanks so much for listening. With a whole lot of gratitude, peace, love, and more cowbell. Hey kids, one last thing. This is a public service announcement of sorts for Alexa users. Apple Podcasts is now available on Alexa-enabled Amazon devices in the United States. So what does this mean? Why am I telling you? Well, because now you can say things like, Alexa, play The Unstarving Musician on Apple Podcasts, or Alexa, play The Unstarving Musician from yesterday on Apple Podcast. A lot of other cool things like that. So I hope you'll check that out. And if you want to learn more, you can look for a link on messing with your Alexa and podcasts in the show notes. Ciao.